The Curious Chronicles of the Cumberland Detective Society. Editor's note. While researching Cumberland's archives for material on William Blackstone, the town's first European settler remembered mostly for his apples, books, and avoidance of other humans. I stumbled upon an entirely different piece of local history, the Annals of the Cumberland Detective Society. Compiled by James Gaynor, the Society's secretary, treasurer, and unapologetic propagandist. The book is a curious blend of historical record, clam-bake recipes, and unabashed self-promotion. The Cumberland Detective Society, founded in 1894 to address a rash of livestock thefts, appears to have been well-meaning but wildly ineffective. Gaynor, however, recast the group as a heroic band of sleuths battling conspiracies, corruption, and barnyard chaos. The following excerpt, The Case of the Missing Cow, or The Bovine Betrayal, is one of the most celebrated and questionable tales from the Annals. While historical evidence is lacking, it perfectly captures the Society's blend of ambition, chaos, and sheer absurdity. My annotations will attempt to provide historical context and survive Gaynor's flair for the dramatic. The Case of the Missing Cow, or The Bovine Betrayal. An excerpt from the Annals of the Cumberland Detective Society, as written by James Gaynor. It was July 17, 1894, a date James Gaynor himself declared would echo through history. Editor's note, it did not. Farmer Thomas Grant burst into the Cumberland Detective Society's headquarters, clutching his hat with the desperation of a man who had rehearsed this moment. "Bessie's gone," he bellowed. To the untrained observer, Bessie might have seemed like any other cow. To the good people of Cumberland, she was a bovine sovereign. Her milk had won blue ribbons at the county fair 3 years running, and she was rumored to have stared down a particularly aggressive goose. This was an achievement no man in town dared attempt. The mayor himself had once called her a pillar of our community, though some argued he'd said the same about a particularly sturdy lamppost. Her disappearance was not merely a theft, it was a crisis. "At last!" exclaimed Earl Burlingame, leaping to his feet with such force that his chair overturned. A genuine case. Editor's note. Records suggest this was the Society's first case, though Gaynor insists it marked the dawn of a new era in Cumberland. The Cumberland Detective Society, a veritable assembly of the town's sharpest minds, boasted an impressive roster. At its head was Earl Burlingame, baker and self-styled detective, whose attempts to combine his investigative work with chowder-making resulted in several small fires and one memorable explosion. He was joined by the sharp-witted Martha Stearns, the group's sole voice of reason, frequently described as long-suffering in local accounts. Then came James Gaynor, secretary and treasurer, who dutifully documented the Society's exploits for posterity. Byron Waterman served as the resident inventor and local fire hazard, known for his unpredictable devices. Finally, there was Nathan Whipple, Jr., the Society's tireless business manager, whose practical concerns about budgets were largely ignored. His horse, Clementine, was often credited with more investigative breakthroughs than Nathan himself. By noon, the team had arrived at Farmer Grant's barn. Earl, surveying the scene, declared, "This is no ordinary crime. This is sabotage." With an eye for detail unparalleled in detection, the ever-observant Martha Stearns discerned the scoundrel's path, kneeling beside a set of wagon tracks. "These lead west," she said. Byron, meanwhile, unveiled his latest invention, the Pneumatic Clue-Finder. As he presented the contraption of brass fittings and repurposed boiler parts, Nathan Whipple, Jr., could be seen subtly calculating the cost of potential damages on a small notepad. "This will resolve the matter with scientific precision," Byron announced, priming a hand crank that produced an unsettling metallic wheeze. When switched on, the machine inhaled a significant portion of the barn's hay, let out a mournful whistle, and then erupted with a percussive bang. The blast showered Earl and flour and sent a nearby chicken squawking into the rafters. Byron, beaming through the haze, clapped his soot-covered hands. "A resounding success," he declared. "The pressure valve works perfectly." Editor's note. No patent applications for the Pneumatic Clue-Finder have been found. This was for the best, and quite possibly for public safety. The wagon tracks led to Sneechicanet Park, where a traveling carnival had set up camp. Earl hesitated at the gate, perhaps recalling the infamous Chowder Incident of '92. Editor's note: references to the Chowder Incident appear in multiple sources, describing a tent collapse, a loose lobster, and an excessive amount of melted butter. Earl's reluctance to discuss the event is understandable. The Society's agents dispersed with purpose, each intent on interrogating a person of interest. They found a barker who twitched conspicuously while stammering, "We have candy apples, fried pickles, but no cows." Next was Madame Zarina, a fortune-teller who whispered cryptically, "The answer lies in the grass," before vanishing into her tent. They even questioned Penelope Whitaker, a rival clambake organizer, who snapped, "Sir, my trade is in clams, not cattle. What use have I for a cow?" Byron, taking Madame Zarina's words as gospel, began combing the grass with a magnifying glass. "I've found something," he shouted, before tripping over a rope. "Excellent work, Byron. The mystery unravels," Earl proclaimed, seizing the rope. "This is the very tether that bound our bovine victim." He and Byron began yanking the rope fruitlessly. Unseen, Martha calmly followed the rope's length to a small pen behind Madame Zarina's tent. There stood Bessie, chewing her cud with the serene indifference of a monarch. The villain, a trembling purveyor of carnival games, was promptly brought to justice. "It was you, Burlingame," the barker confessed, sputtering with indignation. "With all your boasting about that chowder, I wish to show this town a true spectacle, to restore our good name after that lobster business. I thought a fire-jumping cow would do it. As it happens, she is more inclined to standing and chewing." Earl was aghast. First a stolen cow, now a stolen clambake legacy? This town has gone to the dogs. Martha cleared her throat, gesturing toward the placidly chewing cow. "We did find her, Earl." A moment passed. Then, Earl's posture straightened. "Another triumph for the Cumberland Detective Society," he proclaimed, brushing hay from his coat. Nathan, ever dutiful, steadied Clementine's saddle with the air of a man who had long accepted that even his horse was more likely to receive a commendation than he was. Historical addendum. James Gaynor described this case as the spark that ignited a grander mystery and the inspiration for the Society's groundbreaking clambake fundraiser. Records indicate the gala raised just enough money to repair Byron's Pneumatic Clue-Finder and purchase 2 more gallons of butter. But Earl's commemorative speech declared it the beginning of a law enforcement revolution. While there is no evidence to suggest the case had any lasting significance, Gaynor's accounts of later investigations often reference recurring themes: ropes, livestock, and inexplicably, carnival folk. The clambake equipment later donated to the Cumberland Fire Department remains a treasured artifact of local folklore and a sobering reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved and unbuttered.